y'all, so we're gonna be doing a wig install. The wig is from Rozilo. It's a company on TikTok shop. The wig is a 13 by 6 lace front wig and it is 30 inches. And this is the wig straight out of the pack. I didn't wash it or anything. And my first impression of the wig, it's 30 inches and it's thin. But I mean, that is to be expected with longer hair. And like I said, it is a lace front wig. The lace doesn't go back the full 6 inches. I didn't bleach or color remove the knots on this wig. The only thing I did was just pluck the knots. So the clip before this one was how the knots looked before, and this is how they look after I've plucked them. So now it's time to get into the install. For the install, I'm going to be using K2 Dreams House glue, and it's a black owned company that I found on TikTok shop. I only planned on wearing the wig for a couple days, so I did just use one layer of glue. When applying the glue, I like to apply it in dots. For me, that just ensures that I don't use too much, but I use enough glue. And to spread the glue, I like to use a popsicle stick. I hate that I have these little ones. The bigger, larger, like tongue depressor ones, those ones work a lot better. My hands were just cramping up so bad from trying to grip onto it, and then I'm applying pressure trying to spread the glue evenly. So if you're going to use popsicle sticks, use the bigger ones like the tongue depressors. And the trick to get an even, clear layer of glue is to keep spreading it and don't stop. As long as that glue is still wet, keep spreading it until you make a thin, clear layer. And low-key, that's probably why my hands was cramping up, because I was not playing. I was going to get that layer of glue to be clear and thin. So once the glue is ready, I then grab the lace and I'm gonna start putting it into the glue. Now, I always put my lace above where the glue starts, so I always end up having to go back and add more glue under the lace, which is fine with me because I'd rather add more glue than try and clean up extra glue that I didn't need. So once I got the lace where I wanted it to be, I then realized that I should have cut out my ear tabs, because that would have just made this process so much easier. Because once you lay that lace into the glue, any movement, manipulating of the hair, the lace, is gonna get the lace, it's gonna make the lace lift. And that's exactly what happened. Typically what I would do is put the wig on my head and then cut the earpieces out, and this is before I use any glue. I usually do that. I'm not sure why I didn't do that this time. Maybe I was a little nervous. I put an elastic band on and I keep that on for about 15 minutes. And I don't know why I do this. It just makes me feel good, I guess. But I always go over my lace with a hot comb. Like, I don't think there's any theory behind this. I don't know. And I mean, looking at the video, I can see that I'm like straightening the hair out. But I don't know why I do it. Okay, now it's time to cut off this lace. I like to do it in sections. So to get a nice, like, rigid, is that the word? Rigid? Rigid. To get a nice rigid cut, I used to use eyebrow razors, but the razors get dull so fast. You only get a few uses out of them before they get dull and they don't cut right. So I started using these little baby tiny scissors and they get the job done. I just make sure that I cut in a zigzag motion, and I'll be doing my own eyebrows, so I also use these scissors to trim them. All right, now that all the lace is cut off, I have to lift up the little pieces that aren't glued down and add more glue underneath. And I had to add a lot more glue. So you know how I said at the beginning I did one layer of glue? I pretty much did 2 layers. I applied the glue with the end of a rat tail comb just because it's small. It allows me to get underneath the lace without having to lift it up all the way. And I tried to spread that into a clear, even layer. It's kind of hard when you're working with such a tiny spot, but even if it's still white, it's fine. And for this part of the lace, I feel like I always have to go back and add more glue because I have a big forehead and I be underestimating the size of my forehead. But again, it is so much easier to go back and add more glue versus if I put too much glue and I had to clean up the glue residue. That would be so much harder than me adding more glue. So once the lace is semi-clear, like I said, if it still has some white spots in it, it's okay to go ahead and lay your lace into the glue. Those white spots mean that the glue is still wet, so you just want to make sure that they're completely dry and clear before you put the elastic band on. If you put the band on while the lace is still wet, the lace is just gonna stick to the band and you're not gonna like how your hair looks when you take that band off. I feel like this was not my best demonstration fan of doing a wig install because I pretty much glued the lace down just to have to glue it back down again. But that's okay. I never said I was a pro at this. I just been doing my own hair since high school, and I do know a little one too, and players mess up sometimes, you know. As you can see, I still have some little pieces of lace that were not laid down. I went ahead and just cut that part out of the video because it's literally the same thing that I've been doing. Just lift the lace, add a little bit more glue, wait for it to turn clear, and then lay the lace back down. Now I'm going in with my Ruby Kisses. This is the makeup that I use to blend the lace into my skin. And I know from the lighting on this video, it doesn't really look like it's working. It looks like the lace is still white, but I promise it's working. Before I melt my lace, I like to add the makeup. I feel like it just locks everything in. And I like to do this specifically when I'm working with transparent lace because those laces are usually white on my skin. So it takes a lot more product for me to get it to blend. And I feel like if I did the melting spray first and did the makeup after, it would just have my lace looking cakey. So I like to do the makeup first and then I go in with my melting sprays. So you did hear me say sprays, as in two, as in multiple. So the first spray I like to use is actually adhesive spray. And it's by Eben. I know how people feel about Eben. I'm not even going to get into that. But it's an adhesive spray. You can actually use this as a glue, but I like to use it as my first melting spray. So to apply it, I just spray it on my finger and then I put it on the lace. You can also use a makeup brush, but to me it's more easier just to spray it on my finger. It would be a lot less messy if I used a makeup brush though. And I used to spray the spray directly on the lace, but then I started noticing that just made the hairs on the frontal like stuck together, like they would be melted down to the lace, and I didn't like that look. So to me, it just makes it easier to spray it on my finger and then apply it that way. That way I know that I'm not getting it directly on the hairs. I then go in with a blow dryer and I use the end of a comb just to lightly press the lace into my skin. I only start tapping on the lace once it starts to dry. If it's still wet, it's gonna get like a cast on it. So I blow dry it for a little bit before I start pressing on it. Also, a lot of people say that you should blow dry on cool air. My blow dryer only has the heat setting, so that's what I use. I've been doing this for years. I don't have any issues. But yeah, that's what I use. If you have a blow dryer that has the cool setting, just use that. Once the lace is completely dry, I go in with a comb and I just comb out the hairline in case I got any spray on the hairs. I do this because I don't want the hairs to get molded down when I put the elastic band on. So I go through and I comb all those hairs out to make sure that they're not stuck. So to melt the lace, I always go in with a wrap strip and I put this on first. I fold it up so I can try and get it to cover just the lace. And then I go in with an elastic band and I put that over the top. And I will say wrap strips are the best thing that I've discovered to help with my installs. I love that they pick up all the extra product that you have that might have gotten on your skin. It makes it so that your elastic bands last longer. Oh, and they absorb moisture. So I really love those. That's the best thing I could have ever done for my installs. I keep the bands on for about 25 to 30 minutes. And when I use these wrap strips, my favorite thing is doing a lace reveal just to see like how melted I got the lace. And this is what it's giving. Mind you, this is just the first melt. I'm gonna do one more melt. So before I do the second melt, I am gonna go in and hot comb the hairs on the frontal. And I do this by parting out a section. I use my wax stick and then I go in with my hot comb. I make sure that I use the back of the hot comb and not just the teeth. I really cannot stand a big, large, Humpty Dumpty wig at the top. It irritates me so bad. So this is a step that I never skip. I was going for a flip over type of hairstyle, so that's why I started the one side and then I moved over to the other side just so I can see where I want the hair to be flipped over, like how far I want it. And y'all, this is my very first YouTube video. I can't believe I'm doing a 20-minute voiceover. I've been working on this for about 5 hours. I keep taking breaks. I've never talked this much in my life. Mind you, I'm doing all of this. I don't know if people are gonna watch this, if people are gonna even see it. But I'm putting myself out there, and I'm hoping that my audience finds me on YouTube because they love me on TikTok. So I hope that people love me just as much on YouTube. And I'm still figuring out my whole setup, the lighting, the recording, the editing, all of the things. But I was like, I need to record a video, I need to edit it, and I need to post it. Like, I have to start somewhere because it was just hindering that. I had no clue how to go about doing a YouTube video. But I'm like, if I don't start somewhere, I'm never gonna know. And when you start something new, like, you're not gonna be perfect at it. Okay, back to the install. Now it's time for the second and the last melt, and I'm going in with the even melting spray. Now I've tried to apply this product using a makeup brush, and it just does not do it for me. So I have to spray it directly on my lace, and it's always so messy, but it's worth it. I just make sure I use a very generous amount, and when I say generous, I pretty much make sure that the lace is saturated. Like, I need to see that the product is on the lace. I started using the combination of the adhesive and the melting sprays a few months ago for my installs, and I love the results. I was just using the Kiss Adhesive Spray, which I still love that product as well. And I like to use that product as an adhesive spray, like as a glue. And I like to use it as a melting spray. So maybe I'll do a video on that because I haven't used that product in a long time. So same thing I did with the last spray. I blow dry it first. I get it semi-dry, and then I start tapping on the lace. And once the lace is completely dry, I'm going to go back in with another wrap strip, and I fold it just so I can have it on the lace and not on the hair. Same thing with the elastic band. I fold that in half just so I can try and keep it on the lace and not the hair. I did keep the bands on for about 40 minutes. I usually don't do that long, probably like 25-30 minutes. Obviously, the longer you can keep it on, the better, the more melted your lace would be, I guess. Like I said, my favorite part of doing my install is cutting off that wrap strip and doing a lace reveal because I need to know how good I melted this lace. And as you can see, the lace is melted. And I did a really good job because this is not an HD lace. It's transparent. It might not even be transparent. It's melted. I did such a great job. And as you can see, like, there's some parts of the lace that are white. I just go in with some alcohol on a towel and I just like gently wipe at it. I don't scrub it or anything. I literally just kind of like tap and pull my finger away. So yeah, very melted. I'm impressed with the results. And this is how the hair looked after I brushed it out. And don't mind all the stuff that I have on the floors, literally miscellaneous things and hella wigs that I need to wash and sell. So I could have passed without doing baby hairs on this install because the hairline looked really good, but I'm gonna do some baby hairs. I feel like the world is anti-baby hair. I don't know why. It's not real hair. I love me some baby hair, some edges, whatever you want to call it. I love them. So here you see me just cutting the hairs. I use my eye and the end of my eyebrow as a guideline of how long I want my baby hair to be. And of course, I'm doing the middle one. I hate doing that middle edge. It is so difficult for me. I can never get it right on the first try. But I like how it looks, so I'm gonna keep trying. I always end up cutting it, and then I realize I've made it too long, and then I have to cut it some more. So I guess that's not really a bad problem because it's easier to fix it if you cut it too long. And then I'm doing the other side, and I quickly realized that one side is gonna be longer than the other. I don't know if it's how I place the lace down, but honestly, like, I don't care. I'm gonna look at it again later in the video and be like, they're uneven. One is longer than the other. But I just keep going because just got to see it through at this point. And you'll notice in this video, I actually don't curl the baby hair like with the mini flat iron. I do that sometimes. It really just depends on how I feel. I feel like I can still somewhat get the same results if I skip that step. So I do sometimes. Usually when I use the mini flat iron to curl, it's just to make content. So to do my edges, I use the ORS Edge Jelly. It's by Olive Oil, and that's been my holy grail for doing my edges. Sometimes I go in with a little bit of Got To Be Glue spray in the yellow can. But for the most part, I just use the edge jelly and it works perfectly fine for me. It's kind of hard to explain how I do my baby hair. I feel like most people understand the gist of it. You do the C swooping motion. That's as good as I can explain how I do them. I do have the double-sided edge brush with the bigger comb, the smaller comb at the end, and then the brush. That is by Red. I've been using this same edge brush for maybe 7 years. It's very well seasoned. I actually need to clean it. But favorite edge brush, if I was to recommend an edge brush, it would be that one. But yeah, like I said before, I don't understand why a lot of people are anti baby hair or edges, whatever you want to call them. At the end of the day, it's not real hair. It's a wig. And people cannot fathom that people like to do what they want to do with their own hair, whether it's the hair that grew out of their scalp or a wig. A few months ago, I went viral on TikTok for doing baby hairs on this wig, and everybody was so mad that I cut the hair, that I did the baby hair. They're like, oh, I like this so much better without the baby hair. It looks so much more natural. But I don't wear wigs to make my hair look natural. If I wanted to look natural, I would just wear my natural hair. Like when I wear a wig, I don't care that some people know, oh, that's a wig. I don't care about that because this is my hair and I'm going to do what I want to do with it. But that's just social media for you. Everybody's always giving their unsolicited opinion. And me, I was raised, if I didn't have nothing nice to say, I'm not going to say anything at all. I hardly ever comment. I never comment anything negative on someone's post. Now, I will like engage with the person on their videos or whatever, but I'm never going out of my way to be like, I don't like this. People are so weird, but that comes with the territory of being on social media. All right, back to the baby hair. So as you can see, I did attempt to swoop these baby hairs in the front, the middle one. I realized they're too long, so I go in with the eyebrow razor. I gently just cut the hairs. I don't even, touch the barrier of my skin. I'm literally just cutting the hairs. And with this one, it takes me a while. So I'm always like playing with it, going back and forth, trying to see if I like it. I can never just get it done on the first try. Also, another reason why I like this edge brush, because when I'm doing this baby hair specifically, I do bounce back and forth between the big-sided comb and the little-sided comb. Plus, I think I struggle doing my hair sometimes too because I'm also blind. I should put my contacts in when I do my hair, but sometimes that just feels like an extra task for me that I don't want to do. So I just be doing my hair and winging it. And it might take me a while to get it right, but I eventually get it right. It just takes a very long time sometimes. A lot of frustration when I could have just put my contacts in so I can see. So as you can see, that took a while. Longer than it took me to do the other two, but now I'm working on the opposite side. As you can see, this side, the hairs are longer than the other side that I already did. And like I said, I don't know if it's because of how I place the lace. I don't know if it's the way that I cut it, but this is me realizing like, okay, these hairs are very close to my eyebrow. And I don't know how anybody else feels about edges, but I do not like my edges touching my eyebrows. Like I need a good amount of space in between them. And yeah, I'm like, this one's long. The other one's not that long. Well, not long, but like further down. But I'm just like, oh, well, I'll have to figure it out later. I just really wanted to be done with doing the baby hair because, again, I love doing baby hair, but they are tedious. And it doesn't help that I usually just do like the side ones. I don't always do that middle baby hair. So the time that I spent doing that middle baby hair, I would have been done doing all of my baby hair if it wasn't for the fact that I decided to do that one. I'm glad I'm finally finished with them because this was like a long scene of me doing baby hairs. I wanted to show the actual process of me doing them, but when you're doing a 20-minute voiceover, it's a lot that you have to figure out to talk about. So Next scene. So I did put another wrap strip over the baby hair just to hold them in place. I do this sometimes, or I just simply blow dry them. But like I said, these wrap strips pick up all that extra product, so it's easier to just help mold them in place. So for the styling, I wanted to do a flip over type moment. So I'm just going in with my wax stick, and I literally just wax all the hairs back. I'm going to go in with my hot comb all the hairs back. And when it comes to that hot comb, I can hot comb my hair for 10 minutes. If it's not straight how I want it to be, I'm going to keep going until I get it exactly how I want it to be. Anytime I'm wearing a curly type texture, I do like the big hair look, the big curly look. But because this wig was a part of a wig collaboration, I had to define the curls. So to do that, I section my hair in half. Depending on how full the hair is, I'll section it in 4s. But I'm doing half. I spray it down with water, and I don't drench it in water. I just wet it enough to define the curls, but I don't want the hair completely saturated. And when I was doing all that hot combing, the top of my head, I didn't realize that would affect how I wanted my hair to look. So now I'm just spraying that part to try and define the curls. So I just spray it with water, brush it real good, and I do that until the curls start to pop how I want them to. And I did go in with mousse. I showed that once I moved to the other side of my head. So I go water, brush it until I define the curls, and then I add the mousse. Sometimes I add a little bit more water, or sometimes after I add the mousse, I just go back and brush it. I just really hate for my hair to get overly saturated, because it takes forever to dry. Like, I want it wet enough to define the curls. Also want it to still be somewhat big when it dries, but you can still see the curl pattern. So I could go in and dry and diffuse the hair, but I'm just gonna let it air dry. While it's air drying, I'm gonna go through and comb out my baby hair, because even though I really like the molded look, kind of like the soft look too. And I realized doing the soft baby hairs, like obviously when you sleep at night, you're probably going to mess them up. But in the morning when I touch up my hair, all I have to do is pretty much just comb them back into place. I don't even have to add any more product to it. Versus if you're going for that molded look and they're messed up and you need to touch them up, you're going to have to add some more product. And it's not really a big deal, but when I'm being lazy and I just want to touch up my hair and go, I would much prefer just to comb them into place and go on about my business. So for the sake of the video and the voiceover, because I have been talking for 2 days, I didn't even finish it last night. This is the next day before I go into work tonight. I went ahead and just sped this part up because I feel like you get the gist of it. Just comb them out so they're not stuck to your skin, and just mold them how you want them to look. And even though it's going fast, you can still see what I'm doing to, get an idea of what I did to get them to look this way. So I like to go back in with the same makeup that I used to, I guess, blend my lace into my skin. It's the same Ruby Kisses. I take some makeup and I just go over the parts, because if my lace is blended to my skin, I want those parts from where I parted away the baby hair, I want that also to blend with my skin as well. I did want to make sure I gave you guys my honest rating on this hair. I would give it maybe a 7 out of 10. I wish it was more full. The hair is pulled to the front so it looks full, but it's really not. And the hair was very, very dry. But I will have the link to the wig and all the products that I use in the caption. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you comment, like, and subscribe. And I will talk to you guys next time.